Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm putting on my investigative journalist hat, and together we are opening up the dossier on the world's most watched sporting event. We're going to look way past the confetti and the cheering crowds to explore the hidden truths and historical allegations that have shadowed the beautiful game.
It's a simple question, right? Every 4 years, literally billions of people around the globe tune in. We see this pure, unifying facade where nations come together in the spirit of fair play. But, well, as we start turning the pages of this investigation, we really have to ask ourselves, is the World Cup strictly about football, or is there a completely different game being played behind closed doors?
On the surface, the tournament is defined by unmatched glory, global unity, iconic celebrations, and lifting those legendary trophies, the whole shebang. But lurking just out of frame, that's where we find the hidden shadows. For decades, the tournament has been trailed by dark allegations of corruption, bribery, and political manipulation. These are the secrets that a lot of powerful figures would rather forget. But as investigators today, we're laying them all out on the table.
Case File 1. Politics on the pitch. Weaponizing the beautiful game.
Okay, let's look at how this really troubling timeline unfolds. In 1976, a military dictatorship takes over Argentina. Fast forward to early 1978, and domestic and international tensions are just skyrocketing, because this very same regime is getting ready to host the World Cup. They desperately needed a PR win on the global stage. And that brings us to June 1978 and a highly questioned match between the hosts Argentina and Peru.
The impact of that specific game is still felt today. The whole 1978 clash remains completely shrouded in claims of political manipulation. See, Argentina needed a massive 4-goal victory to advance to the finals. And what happened? They ended up winning 6-0 against a strangely compliant Peruvian defense. Because of the intense pressure and influence from the ruling regime at the time, many historians and journalists still seriously question the legitimacy of this match.
All right. Let's turn the page to 1986. The ghosts of geopolitics make a massive return to the pitch. The Falklands War, which was a bitter, deadly conflict between Argentina and the UK, had ended just 4 years prior. So when these two nations met in the 1986 World Cup quarterfinal, the tension was absolutely palpable. You could cut it with a knife. For so many watching, this wasn't just a soccer game, it was an extension of national conflict, playing right out there on the grass. And those tensions erupted into one of the most famous moments in sports history. The hand of God. Diego Maradona literally punched the ball into the net. The referee completely missed the infraction, and the goal stood. But for our investigation, it's so much more than just a blown call. It became this deeply controversial political symbol, a dramatic historical moment framed by some as an act of cosmic or perhaps literal retribution. Which leads us to a much bigger systemic question. What actually happens when the referee's whistle is silenced? When the rules of the game are bent by invisible hands? Where exactly does the sport end and the conspiracy begin? Keep that in the back of your mind as we shift from geopolitical goals into the modern era of officiating controversies.
Case File 2. Referees, Upsets, and Conspiracies. The 2002 Whistleblowers. Let's dive into the 2002 tournament. The official storyline for co-host South Korea's run is this incredible underdog miracle. But the allegations? They point to a massive refereeing conspiracy, complete with inexplicably disallowed goals and red cards against powerhouses like Italy and Spain. Then, look at defending champions France and their shocking early exit. Was it just poor team form, as it says on paper, or was there some suspicious orchestration happening behind the scenes to clear the path for others?
So, looking at the evidence, I have to ask you, were these truly underdog miracles? The magic of the beautiful game at work? Or were they the result of a rigged system designed to pump up viewership and financial return? There were just so many suspicious calls in 2002 that the world really had to start looking at referees not just as umpires, but as potential variables in a much darker equation.
Moving right along to Case File 3, The Business of Corruption, Investigating FIFA's Shadows.
Just let this conceptual figure sink in for a second. Millions upon millions of dollars. This represents the massive scale of historical FIFA corruption. We're talking bribery controversies, shady wire transfers into offshore accounts, just a staggering volume of dark money influencing football. Over the years, investigative journalists and international law enforcement have exposed a massive web of kickbacks tied to broadcasting rights, hosting bids, and marketing deals. It's wild.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding exactly how this money poisons the pitch. We're talking about match fixing. That's the act of playing or officiating a match to achieve a predetermined result, almost always for a payday. Grounding our investigation in this is vital. When billions, yes, billions, are wagered on global sports betting, the financial incentive to dictate a match outcome through a bribed ref or a compromised player is terrifyingly high.
Any good investigative journalist relies on one core mantra: follow the money. If you want to know why a tournament goes to a specific location or why certain broadcasting rights are handed out, you don't look at the game. No, you look at the bank statements. And following the money leads us straight to the most modern, expensive, and scrutinized controversy yet.
Case File 4. The Qatar 2022 Controversies. The Global Backlash.
Let's crack open the Qatar 2022 dossier and see exactly what human rights organizations and global critics brought into the light. First up, sweeping allegations of bought votes and bribery during the hosting selection process itself. Second, intense criticisms regarding the host nation's domestic laws. And third, massive, ongoing debates regarding the treatment, living conditions, and mortality rates of the migrant workers who literally built the stadium infrastructure. It's the ultimate dichotomy of our modern era. On one hand, you have this breathtaking spectacle, gleaming, air-conditioned stadiums that cost billions, and a totally flawless television product broadcast to the world. But on the other hand, an unprecedented global backlash. The 2022 tournament triggered global protests, player demonstrations, and a level of journalistic scrutiny the sport had never, ever seen. The public finally refused to just accept the spectacle. They demanded to see the shadows.
Which brings us to the end of our investigation today. We've traced the timeline from political dictatorships in the 70s to phantom whistles in the early 2000s, right up to the billion-dollar controversies of today. Leaving you with all this evidence we've compiled, I want to leave you with one final thought. Is the World Cup really just football, or is there a darker side hidden behind the world's biggest sporting event? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.